Hey guys, Buck Weezer putting the do into do-it-yourself. It's springtime and we got a couple of snow blowers. Yeah, a couple of snow blowers that need some attention before we put them away for the season. This guy here is the big Troy-Bilt Storm 10,030, and it's got, what's it got on this here? It's got a Tecumseh, what is this, a 10 horsepower? Something like that. 10 horsepower engine right there. Now this guy hasn't run in 2 years. And the reason it hasn't run in 2 years is because 2 winters ago, here in our part of the country, there was no snow. It was just an unusual winter. There was no snowfall of which to speak. And then, this season we did have snow, but the owner couldn't get it running. So, yeah, we're not going to need it till next year, but we got to figure out how to get it running. And I'm 95% sure that carburetor's gunked up with old fuel that's been sitting in it for 2 years. So I'm not even going to attempt to start it. I already know that it won't. Possibly we could shoot some starting fluid into the carburetor throat and see if it'll run for a few seconds. But I know what we're going to have to do is take off the carburetor. We'll clean it. We'll put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. Don't know what the story with this guy. It's kind of like big brother and little brother. Well, let's get started by taking off this top engine shroud, getting access to the carburetor over here, so we can see if we can get this guy cleaned up and running again. I think we just have these two fasteners here at the top, 1/2 inch nuts that hold this cover down. And it should lift right up. Looks like there were 2 screws down lower, but they seem to be missing. All right. I think that'll do it. All right. Two Phillips head screws right here. This guy here looks like a 5/16. Get it with the nut driver. I don't know what year this is. It looks like it's been around for a little bit. Tag here says the oil was changed in November of 2014 with Mobil 1. Another screw back here. Can't get it with the nut driver, we'll use the ratchet. Okay, looks like this guy wants to come off, maybe. And I'm going to disconnect the wire for the kill switch. And that cover comes off. And now we got pretty good access to the carburetor down here. All right, let's see if we can get this, take down this intake. Yeah, we're taking down this carburetor.
Alright, I hope you don't like that.
Alright. Okay, so this is just a little easier. Don't want to rip the gasket. Alright, the gasket came. Alright, so now we've got this free, but the fuel line is still connected, and then some of these linkages. Alright, so let's try to get that fuel line off of there. Yeah, you gotta get comfortable working in tight spaces. And some of this. Unfortunately, there's fuel in the carburetor, and I'm going to have to pinch off that line, or we'll have a big mess on our hands. Let's try that. Okay. Alright, pried them off. Good. That's a little better. Now you got a little bit more freedom. Get these linkages off. Did one of them fall off already? Oh, no, it was over to here. Okay, so he's totally free and clear. And he's pretty nasty. I'll now be able to more easily separate these two, and we'll open up that carburetor inside and clean this guy up with the help of the ultrasonic cleaner. Okay, so here's the carburetor, and we're going to open it up and we're going to clean it thoroughly. I've got the ultrasonic cleaner right here. It's filled with hot water and an ounce or two of purple power cleaner degreaser detergent. Got some tools, an old toothbrush. So let's start by taking the bowl off the bottom of that carburetor and see what kind of stuff might be inside it. And a 1/2 inch socket will take it off. That doesn't look too bad, actually. Alright, so there's the fuel in there, and it doesn't look too bad. There's maybe a little bit of crud down there. I'm not really sure. So this guy is very likely clogged because the gas needs to come in through the holes at the side and then up through the top. That often is a culprit here. And let's see what else we can do here. We can pull out this pin to take off the float and the needle. Comes out, the float comes off. There's a needle. So I'm going to see if I can carefully remove this gasket. Not bad there. I would say just visually this doesn't actually look that bad. And I just sneezed. Alright, so before we put it in the cleaner. There's another thing I want to do. I could take off with a Phillips head screwdriver this choke mechanism. It's not essential that I do, but I'll grab a Phillips head and see if it'll come off. Sometimes they're on there so tight that just not even mess with it. Yeah, that's really tight. I'm going to leave it. Over on this side, we've got the low-speed jet down here. That's a little dirty. I'm going to pry off the rubber cap. Just want to try. I'm going to set it down. Okay, that's that guy. And now it should be a slotted screwdriver to take that out. And he comes out. Alright, good. I could take this off. This is just a bracket that secures the cover onto over the carburetor area. It might come off. Or again, they might be on there so tight as to... Okay, there's that one. These are just 1/4 inch. It's just a 1/4 inch nut driver. Alright, there we go. So I think that's as far as we need to disassemble it. We're going to put the parts in the basket. Unfortunately, I destroyed it, so I'll have to replace that somehow. Alright, but no worries. It's not that big a deal. So let's put our parts into the carburetor bowl, the small parts, and we'll put that right into the basket. Alright, so now we'll put this all into the ultrasonic cleaner. Which, as I said, it's just hot water primarily with some purple power that detergent. And yeah, so everything is below, everything's fully submerged. Alright, so we got a 5-minute cycle. Temp is set to 50 degrees Celsius. The actual temperature is 36 degrees Celsius. We'll turn on the heater and we'll hit the 5-minute cycle. And I'll be back at you in a few minutes. Alright, I ran the thing for 2 5-minute cycles. Water in there is pretty cloudy. Here's our carburetor. So at this point I want to I've got the old toothbrush and I was just going to clean it off just a little bit, some of the outside stuff that's now, you know, loose and ready to come off as a result of the ultrasonic cleaner. So at least on the outside it looks relatively clean. Mostly what I'm concerned about is the inside. The small passageways that might get gunked up over time as the result of old fuel sitting in there. And I'm I'm gonna rinse it a little bit there. So it certainly visually looks a lot cleaner, right? So another thing that I'd like to do is I've got these a variety of different sized cleaners and little brushes that I like to use in some of these spots. Like that brush is perfect for cleaning that jet. It's snug, and that's going to help there a lot. This piece, yeah, not very important. It's just a support bracket. It's not really doing much. It's got some rust on it. Again, not very significant. Now this guy is very important here, because as I've told you, this is where the fuel enters through these two holes on opposite sides at the bottom and is sucked up through this main jet. So I definitely want to poke through there with some of these wire tipped cleaners, various sizes, and down through the top. And I also want to blow some air through it, which I just did with my mouth. Yes, my mouth. And another thing that I'm going to do is use a little bit of carb spray to spray through that. So if I spray down through the middle, we should see it come out the sides at the base. Not sure if you got a good view of that or not. And I can definitely see it coming out. So this is definitely opened up. This may be what clogs, you know, originally, that keeps the fuel from flowing up through the carburetor and keeping the engine from running. So yeah, we're going to just clean all of these. I went out to the shed and found a new gasket for this guy. Put him on there and he'll be ready to go back in. These are the other parts. Again, these are just mounting screws for that bracket. This is the low speed jet, so I definitely want to, you know, get a pin or something to poke through here. Make sure that's clean and unobstructed. And also shoot a little carburetor cleaner through there. Yep, that's cleared out. Great, that's good to go. I do want to clean the bowl out, carburetor bowl. Scrape off this old gasket. Some crud in here to get off as much as I can. And this here is a spring-loaded drain valve. Gasket on the inside, and this allows you at the end of the season to drain all the fuel out of your carburetor so it's not sitting in there through the off season. That's a really handy feature. Most of us don't take advantage of that, but we should. Drain the old gas out of your tank and make sure your carburetor is empty by using that spring-loaded drain plug right there. Alright, so we've got it cleaned out. Pretty good. We're going to put it back together and remount it on the snowblower. We'll keep our fingers crossed that it's ready to go. Well, it's time to put the carburetor back on. I've connected our intake pipe, and here's how we're going to do it. I do it in this order. First, I connect the throttle linkages while I still have plenty of movement. Then we will connect the fuel line. And then we'll bolt it up at the intake manifold. So we will put this guy here, like that. Here's the fuel line going in. Might not be able to see it. Fuel line clamp in place. And next we'll put on our intake bolts. All right, just got to tighten that down. And before I put everything else back together, you know, the cover to the carburetor and all that stuff that we had taken off, we'll add some gas and see if it'll start for us. Just tighten these down a little bit more. All right, that's great. That should be enough. All right. Got to put our primer bulb feature on. Reconnect that hose. Forgotten that. Need him there. That looks good. We'll apply the choke and see what we get. Yeah, okay. Well, it's running, which it wasn't doing when it was delivered to us. So I think we solved it. I don't think it was running as perfectly smoothly as I'd like. Although it evened out okay, it idled okay, it ran good okay, moved forward and reverse as it should, auger engaged as it should. So I think we got this back in business. Too bad now it's just going to have to sit for another 9 months till the next snowfall. So I'm going to do a few more maintenance items. Change the oil, open up this cover, check the condition of the belts, clean it up a little bit. And then I'm actually going to drain the gas out of the carburetor because we're going to store it. And for 9 months till next winter, we don't want to leave the fuel in the tank or in the bowl of the carburetor, because that's the reason that I didn't want to start at the beginning of the season in the first place. Thanks for watching me on this video, and I hope this helps you on your snowblower or any other small engine repair, especially if it's sat with old gas for a considerable amount of time, as often happens with snowblowers and other small engine equipment. Have a great day, everybody. See ya.